Hi everyone, fresh out the shower here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of this new Alex Cameron album, Oxy Music. This is the newest and fourth full-length LP from singer and songwriter Mr. Alex Cameron, who quickly grew to be one of my favorites of the 2010s off of a few records. I even named his track Far From Born Again my favorite song and single of 2019. So I've really loved the guy's work for a minute now, and one of my favorite consistent things about Alex Cameron's music is not just his ability to write a song, but embody it, act within it, bring a vivid character to a song or an entire record, whether that be Jumping the Shark, which was a concept record about a TV host and personality whose livelihood in the entertainment industry was being torn away from him, or Forced Witness, which is a project where Alex plays out in first person the perspective of a series of toxic meatheads and pervs and seedy individuals. The record Miami Memory had its share of personalities too, but it mostly felt like a mask-off moment for Alex, where he was really able to put very clearly his actual opinions on the prejudice and the sexism and the narrow-mindedness that often inspires the characters that he puts into his songs. But Oxy Music, I think, sees him going back into a persona a little bit, I think. Sometimes it is hard to tell because he does put a lot of himself and his actual points of view in his songs, and he's so good at blurring the lines between fantasy and reality. But what's clear, if the title doesn't already make it obvious, is this record is very much about drugs, especially through the experience of addiction and the emotional and mental lows that come along with that. There's a bit of a stylistic shift musically to complement this thematic angle too. The instrumentals on this one are a lot less quirky new wave and heartland rock, and more smooth synth pop and soft rock instead, which I think is a smart contrast given how vibey and blissful these genres often are. But much of the time this record lacks the lush layering and maybe even the budget to make this sound really come to fruition. Like on the track Prescription Refill, for example, which I think checks some basic soft rock boxes, but still, the faint rhythm guitars and rickety drums lack a certain kind of smoothness and color. Then there's Hold the Line, which I cannot really make heads or tails of what this song is attempting. The stuttering drum patterns on this one have the worst groove on top of it. The rest of the rhythm section makes the awful choice of just kind of locking in with it for the verses. Alex's lyricism here I don't think is up to snuff either. Sure, the addiction narrative does come through pretty clearly, but I'm wearing my blossom robe, but I can't even get it up, so how am I supposed to give a fuck? Cash stuffed in my underpants, I'm overflowing, watch me dance, mosquito mass hysteria, I'm serving up malaria. I know Alex is fairly self-aware when it comes to his lyrics, and he's obviously trying to be a little humorous here, but he's had way funnier asides on previous tracks, and way more telling ones too when it comes to describing and letting the listener understand his or his character's motivations. The vocal performance on this one feels weirdly understated for Alex too, as if he's kind of given up on selling his songs, which he's typically pretty great at. Like, as he shifts into the chorus on this song, there's no noticeable change in emotion, intensity, much of anything. It's kind of like he's just sauntering through multiple passages of this LP with casual shower singing. Even on moments where I think he's bringing far superior songwriting, like on the song Best Life, which describes, I think, an addiction of a different kind, the need for validation on social media, or Sarah Joe, whose very funny lyrics are packed with all these descriptions of toxic antisocial behavior, which, as it's described here, seems to be pulling a family apart. Still, even though there are spots of this LP where it seems like something is missing, Alex's pop sensibilities and weirdo charms ring through, especially on K-Hole, which I think is the perfect mix of beauty and tragedy that makes Alex Cameron's best moments so magic. The smooth and carefree grooves on this one play really well against Alex's lyrical struggle to maintain composure and stability in the midst of taking way too much ketamine all the time. This is also the one track I have not been able to stop playing since this record came out. There are some lyrics also on this track that address mental health, which I also think is a recurring theme on this project, especially on some of the sleepier cuts here, such as Breakdown or Dead Eyes, the latter of which might be a little too lethargic for my tastes. But Breakdown's cries for sympathy and understanding after having lost it are pretty strong and compelling, and certainly serve as a reminder that we are not our mental illnesses. But nothing on this LP could have prepared me for what I was going to be hit with in its final moments. There is Cancel Culture, which is honest to God a zany, lo-fi hip-hop, kind of pop, rock, reggae fusion. The keys are nuts. The guest rapper Lloyd Vines, I don't know where Alex got this guy, but he bring some character to the track. Then vocally, Alex is going off on this song in a way that he just has not been for Oxy music up until this point. So this thing is colorful, it's messy, it's out there, but what's even more interesting is what he's saying about this continually controversial topic, because Alex does a pretty decent job of sidestepping any obvious takes on cancel culture, making the song more about the social tensions that may arise in the midst of appropriating culture or vernacular that is not yours, especially as a white guy, which the track is obviously poking fun at. But simultaneously, the takeaway seems to be, so if you're worried about the vultures, the only thing we can do is cancel culture, which is certainly a way of looking at it. Either way, the hook sticks. I think it's generally a fun and thoughtful track, but still, the instrumental, the genre fusions here, really could have gone over a lot smoother. Then the closing track features Jason Williamson of Sleaford Mods fame, and has some of the most homegrown production on the entire LP, sounding like some weird, lost, lo-fi 80s synthy pop rock demo. Thematically, it does tie up a lot of this record's themes of drugs, addiction, trying to kick that addiction. It's a lengthy cut too and undergoes a pretty grand shift in the second half. But Williamson and Alex vocally mix like oil and water on this one, especially when their vocals are harmonizing, I use that term loosely, on the back end, which honestly I think more has to do with placement than performance. Jason Williamson, for the most part on the track, is fine. He does on the song what we know him to do on many a Sleaford's track, and I'm sure going into this song that's exactly what Alex wanted from him, but I just don't think how it marries here it comes together as well as maybe Alex thinks it may. So sadly, overall, I think this record is a bit of an off one for Alex, even if it does have a few highlights on it. The production and performances consistently, I just think, are not up to snuff for him. There are a lot of lyrical potholes strewn about the LP too, and beyond that, we have a concept that feels only slightly dug into, not just on individual tracks, but the record as a whole, especially with the track list feeling a little short. Kind of feeling a light 6 on this one. Transition, have you given this project a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head, it's another video you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Alex Cameron, Oxy Music, forever.